Assalamu alaikum dear students. Today we are going to do Unit 5. The title of this story is The Last Leaf. It is written by O. Henry. First, I'll discuss the elements that are present in the story. So there are approximately 7 elements that are very important and they make the story a strong story. The first one is plot. A plot has 5 important segments. That is the exposition, where the characters are introduced and the setting is given. Then the rising action, that is where the story starts developing. Then the third part is the climax, that is a turning point in the story from where the story takes a turn and it changes. Then the falling action, that is when the events or the actions, they are now drawing to a conclusion. And the final part is resolution, that is when the story is concluded or it comes to an end. Then it's the second segment or element of a story is setting. In this case, we see that the story is set in a small place, that is Greenwich Village, and it's in USA, and the season is that of winter. So it's fall season and the winter is about to start. The characters in this story are Johnsy, Sue, Behrman, a doctor, and Mr. Pneumonia. Mr. Pneumonia is a disease and it has been personified here and it's presented as a character. Then the tone of the story is sad, and the point of view that we are presented with is the third person point of view, or we call it omniscient point of view as well. That is, the story is narrated by a third person, and most of the time it's the writer himself who is narrating the story. Then there is conflict in the story, and the conflict is on two levels. It's internal conflict that goes on in the heart and mind of the main character, and there is an external conflict that takes place between the opposing forces. So here the inner conflict is in the mind and heart of the main character, that is Johnsy, and she is wavering between hope and hopelessness. That is, she has lost all hope to die, and then she resumes the hope later on. Then the external conflict is that which is between the opposing forces, which play outside the character of the main character of the story. So here in this case, it's the external conflict between nature, and nature here comes in the form of a disease. It's pneumonia, and the main protagonist, that is the main lead of the story, Johnsy. Then the themes that are present in the story, there are 3 important themes which have been discussed here: hope versus hopelessness, then the theme of friendship, and the theme of sacrifice. That the first theme, that is hope and hopelessness, it is presented through the character of Johnsy. She has lost all hope after being infected with pneumonia, and because it's a winter season and the leaves are falling from the tree, so it's very natural. And when she looks through the window, she sees the leaves quickly falling down from a tree, and somehow she associates the falling of those leaves with her approaching death. So she loses all hope of life, and the doctor also tells her friend Sue that she has lost the willpower to live, so the doctor cannot help her. So basically what she needs is hope, and because she has lost all the hope, so the chances of her survival are very bleak. Then the second theme, that is of friendship. Here we see the relationship of Sue and Johnsy, these two girls who have met and they have come from different places, and they met here in this city, and they became friends due to common interest, and they have become such good friends that Sue here is shown taking great care of Johnsy when Johnsy is lying in bed, seriously ill due to pneumonia. And then the third theme is of sacrifice. And here we see Mr. Berman, an old man who is quite old, and he sacrifices his life to save the life of Johnsy. He was also a painter like these two girls, but he was not a very successful painter. So when he comes to know that Johnsy has lost all hope, and she's counting the leaves, and she thinks that with the fall of the last leaf, she's also going to leave this world. So he paints the leaf on the wall to give hope to Johnsy, and his purpose is fulfilled, because when the next morning Johnsy wakes up and she looks through the window, the leaf is still there. This gives her hope that when the leaf can battle the stormy night, she can also face this disease, and she can also struggle, and she can also battle against this disease, and that is how she regains back the hope which she had lost, and she then quickly recovers. Now I would like to discuss the questions with you. Number one is, what is the main theme of the story, The Last Leaf? The main theme of the story is that one should not lose hope in adverse circumstances. Faith and hope can enable one to fight with difficult situations. Johnsy had lost all hope when she caught pneumonia, and even the doctor was hopeless about her. But the last leaf which she thought would fall down, indicating her death as well, survived, giving her hope to fight the disease. Ironically, it was not an actual leaf but a painted one. But it instilled hope in Johnsy, and she was able to recover again. The next question, how did Sue and Johnsy become friends? Sue and Johnsy became friends when both met each other in a restaurant of Greenwich Village. They were both painters, and one came from Maine and the other from California. Finding a lot of interest in common, like art, food, dreams, and clothes, they became friends. They settled on the top floor of a three-floored building. Question number 3, she has a chance if she wants to live. If people don't want to live, I can't do much for them. What do these words of the doctor about Johnsy mean? When Johnsy caught pneumonia, she became very ill. She stopped eating and kept looking at the ivy leaves falling from the tree. She somehow thought that with the falling of the last leaf, her life would also come to an end. She lost all hope to survive, and the doctor, on examining her, said that he could not do much for her because the willpower to fight the disease had left Johnsy. Question number 4, why did Johnsy keep asking Sue to open the curtains? Johnsy kept watching the ivy vine shed its leaves from the window. She did not want Sue to cover the window because she counted the falling leaves. She thought the falling leaves are symbolic, indicating her coming death. She wanted to see how many had fallen and how many left. How was Johnsy's life saved? That's the next question. Mr. Behrman, the old painter who lived on the ground floor of the same building where Johnsy and Sue lived, became the savior of Johnsy's life. He painted the leaf on the wall. The leaf looked so real that Johnsy thought that it was a real leaf. She thought that the last leaf was saved, so her life would also be saved. This gave her hope. She started eating and taking care of herself and was saved. Question number 6. What made Johnsy's views change about life? How did you know? Johnsy was suffering from pneumonia and had lost all hope to survive. She drew a comparison between herself and the leaves falling from ivy vine. She associated her approaching death with the falling leaves. When she saw the last leaf which had been there on the tree the previous day, still on the tree after facing a stormy night, she became hopeful too. This incident changed her views about life, and she became hopeful. Question number 7. Write a character sketch of the character Behrman in the story The Last Leaf. Mr. Behrman was a 60 years old man who lived on the ground floor of the building in which Johnsy and Sue lived. He was an unsuccessful painter because for the last 40 years he had been dreaming to paint a masterpiece but without any success. He was a caring and sacrificing man. He sacrificed his life to save Johnsy. Knowing that the young girl had lost hope in life, he spent the whole night in storm to paint a leaf. Johnsy believed that it was a real leaf and thus got back her spirit to live. Now, I would tell you what is meant by a plot. A plot is, you can say, an outline, or you can say that it's a plan which the writer makes before he intends to write a story. So, here in this case, the plot has five segments: introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. And in the story, The Last Leaf, we are presented with the setting of the story, that is Greenwich Village, and the season is of winter. Two young girls meet and become friends. So, here in this part of the story, we are introduced to the story, to the characters, to the setting. Then the story develops when we come to know that one of the girls, Johnsy, has got pneumonia. She has lost the will to live and is counting her days with the falling of leaves. The story reaches the climax when she comes to know that the leaf which she thought would fall down has survived. She is filled with hope and hence starts taking food and starts recovering. The action in the story starts falling when we come to know that Barman has died of pneumonia. The story reaches an anticlimax or concludes when we find out that the leaf on the wall was not a real one. In fact, it had been painted by Behrman. So that's in brief words, the plot of the story. What lesson do we get from the story The Last Leaf? We get a beautiful message from this story. One should not lose hope. Adverse circumstances should not lead one to lose all hope. Every cloud has a silver lining. Johnsy had given up all hope to live because of her own lack of will. Once he gets back the will, she recovers from her illness quickly. Willpower and strength to fight against all odds is being taught in this story. The last question: suggest an alternate ending for The Last Leaf. In my opinion, the death of Behrman is unjustified. The poor man had been waiting and dreaming to paint a masterpiece. He had to die in order to be acknowledged as a painter. I would have preferred to see him living to enjoy the moments of glory. So, thank you, dear students, for your patience